Hello, friends, fellow FPL nerds, and everybody else. I hope you're well. My FPL team at the moment is not doing not doing brilliantly, but don't worry. I have a secret plan to make everything better to to improve the team. It's so secret. I shouldn't tell anyone, but nobody watches these videos anyway, so I think I can let you in on the secret. I'll talk about it towards the end. Every time I kind of come up with plans, something a bit different, it suddenly becomes template. I don't like my team being that template, so I've got a few different ideas this week what I could do to improve the team. So let's have a look at how it is going so far. Now, for game week 26, I thought I was quite well set up for it, where I would not need any hits and have 11 playing players. But I did a naughty thing against the law. I brought in an early transfer. I brought Hoyland in. He was playing really well. He'd scored like I think 7 goals in the last 6 games, and then obviously he gets injured. My fault. Yeah, I knew it was a possibility that that could happen, and I kind of thought I'll take a bit of a risk. He doesn't have a game in between, and he gets injured in training. Typical. I knew that was going to happen, and it's on me. Uh, What I then did was I thought, well, I might as well make another move because if I do nothing, I get no points from him, and if I bring in another player, then worst case I probably get -2, assuming no yellow cards if he plays 90 minutes. And I thought Solanke's going to play 90 minutes. He didn't get a yellow card. He did absolutely nothing else. But had he done anything, it would have been, again, he has those brilliant fixtures. He's got Burnley, and then he's got a double in 28. It's so boring. I hate it. But I feel like in the striking positions, there weren't many other options I could have maybe gone for. Maybe I could have gone with someone like a Tony or a Wanyi or I don't know. I couldn't get Alvarez because I've already got 3 City. So this is what I did, and obviously looking at this graphic here, it didn't pay off. I ended up on a -2 with those 2 transfers. So that's what I did. Let's look at the team. Okay, so as I say, I thought I was going to be really well set up for this period. The double in 25, which didn't go very well last week, um, partly because of that Trent Alexander-Arnold injury, and then I brought in Doughty, who did nothing. And this week was also another disappointment. And I'm recording this on Monday morning, so the game week hasn't finished. I'm already on a red arrow. I think the red arrow is only going to get worse because we've got West Ham players and Brentford players left to come. I only have Areola left. Hopefully he plays because Dubravka I think he had a virus, didn't even play. They played Karius instead. Newcastle did. So the team did really badly. I've got a bit of the team looks a little bit strange because I messed about with the bench and put players who I put my bench players who weren't playing in the team just to have a bit of fun, so that it does a bit of transferring around. Yeah, so Trippier, obviously Arsenal battered Newcastle. Trippier has been really disappointing recently. He's probably one that I could look to take out, but I like having him. He's a player that I like, so I think he's probably not a priority to take out. My defence doesn't look great at the moment. Saliba obviously got 2 points because I think Arsenal let in a late goal, did they? Van Heck, 1 point, yellow card, and letting in a goal against Everton. Obviously, so those were the defence, as usual, was rubbish. I think I actually end up here on about 40 points after the -4, it all added together. And that's quite a big red arrow down to, at the moment, 565,000. At one point, I was up to about 250,000 in the world, which is the best I've been all season, I think. And in the last 2 game weeks, it's just been a bit of a disaster. Foden managed 11 points, so he was a rare point scorer. Gross has been brilliant for me since I brought him in 21. In first couple of games didn't do a lot. He's actually outscored players like De Bruyne across that period. De Bruyne obviously didn't play, which is annoying and gives me a bit of a problem going forward. And yeah, so Solanke, as I say, brought in, only got 2 points. Watkins did score and got 9 points, but doesn't really help my rank that much because I didn't captain him, and I captained Boring Haaland, who got what was it, an assist, I think. So he's he was a bit of a rubbish captain, but I think a lot of people went for him anyway. So yeah, that's what I edit. I'm going to end up on a red arrow that's probably going to be even worse. So let's have a look at the team. Some possible transfers that I could maybe make. So if we look at my team for game week 27, I mean, it looks okay. I've got Areola, who I think I'll probably start against Everton, over Dubravka against Wolves, because Newcastle haven't looked very good, especially defensively. I think I have to play Trippier against Wolves for that attacking upside. He hasn't really done much. Hopefully that might change. Van Heck is a cheap enabling defender, but he's got a reasonable fixture against Fulham away. I mean, I think Fulham might score, but I haven't really got much choice in there with Guahi still being injured. I think he's just going to probably rot on my bench at the moment because I don't need him at the moment. Some point further on in the future, Crystal Palace defender might be handy to play where I've got some more tougher fixtures for my other defenders. But I think I'm going to leave it as it is. Doughty on the bench against Aston Villa, and Saliba, Sheffield United at home. Arsenal have been punishing me week after week at the moment because I've only got one defender. They've had a couple of clean sheets, haven't they, or goals scored by Gabriel and things. And then the big one has been Saka, not having Saka in my team. And also Solanke for the previous weeks, not last week. I've broken him now that I've brought him in. So Saka has really punished my rank as well, because he's just played really well recently, has scored a lot of goals, and a lot of people have got him in their team. So Manchester City play Man United. I've got Foden, De Bruyne and Haaland at the moment for those. Haaland's a possible captaincy. I think people have been saying he's been really disappointing, and I suppose for his standards maybe he has. He hasn't. But if you look at it, across the last 4 games he scored 3 goals, and he hasn't played particularly well, but in one of those games he scored 2 goals. Against Chelsea he had like 9 chances, didn't score. Man City really, and people saying they've not been playing as well, they're creating a lot of chances still. And across the last few games, they obviously they drew with Chelsea 1-1, but they're doing what kind of champions do, is they're getting points out of these games where they're not even playing that well. They've won 2 games 1-0, against Bournemouth. It's a bit of a hard-fought contest, but they've won that game, and they've managed to get a late-ish equaliser against Chelsea. So they've got one. That was 1-1. The other game, who was the other one? It was 1-0. Can't think off the top of my head, but anyway, it might have been Brentford, was it? Yeah, despite not playing particularly well, Holland's still scoring points, and in that team, they will always create chances. I think I would like to go against him in captaincy, and I might do that, but prepare for it to go wrong, because he could easily score a hat-trick against anybody, and it can just switch like that, I think. He's a very, very good player, and if he's playing badly and still scoring goals most weeks, what's he going to do when he actually turns up and turns it on? So I'm a little bit wary about going against him for captaincy, but I'm also open to it. I think it could be a fun week to go against him. I think a lot of people may go for Saka on captaincy this week. Richarlison against Crystal Palace at home. So yeah, he's happy to play him, and hopefully he continues the form a few games ago where he kept scoring every game. He hasn't scored for a couple of games, but he didn't play last week as well, so that's a bit unfair. Gross has been brilliant recently in that he's getting bonus hit points even if he just does an assist, or and he's been a really really good pick. And as I say, since game week 21, he's outscored De Bruyne. I think he's outscored. I think he's probably outscored Richarlison across that period. Actually, I think he scored. I looked at earlier about 41 points across that period. So he's got a little bit under the radar, I think. But he no plans to take him out at the moment, and might as well play him against Fulham away. Garnacho is on the bench, and I think becomes a. I mean, against Man City away, you would think Man City will probably beat them comfortably the way Man U have been playing. Sometimes I look at them and wonder how they're so far up the league. They've been awful, but I've been wondering this for the last few seasons, and it's that's just they seem to somehow end up being sixth or sort of up the league, but without playing well ever. I think if Højlund was in a better team, he could be, he could even be leading the race for the. I mean, this sounds a bit silly, for the Golden Boot, because he looks very clinical, and it's a big shame for Manchester United. I know a lot of people don't like Man United, that he is injured, and I think that makes Garnacho a worse prospect. He is playing every game at the moment, and he's involved. He's really cheap. Happy to have him in the team, but happy. At least I can got someone that I kind of think, well, he's cheaper, so I can bench him. That's maybe the wrong way to think about it, but otherwise, I don't know who I bench this week. Solanke against Burnley away. Possible captaincy shout. Watkins possible captaincy shout against Luton away as well. So team looking okay. One free transfer. 2.5 million in the bank. Hopefully I can actually get a green arrow again and get in the right way somehow. Let's have a look at some possible guys that I could maybe bring in. So some possible transfers here, and these ones are all ones with game week 28 in mind, because there's a double game week. Bournemouth and Luton both double. They're reasonably good doubles that game week, so getting another player in might be a good idea. So the goalkeepers there, Kaminsky, Neto. Obviously, double game weeks don't always equal more points, as it last in game week 25. I kind of found out. Doughty didn't do anything. I've got Doughty anyway. I'm going to be playing him in that game week. I've got Solanke, so without injuries and things. There's already two players. Maybe I'd like another one. I could do any of these moves next week instead. Bournemouth have Burnley this week, so it might be a nice one to bring in. But yeah, so the goalkeepers Kaminsky and Neto. So Bournemouth goalkeeper and the Luton goalkeeper. I think either of those might be good for that game week. So Luton play Villa, so I'm not quite sure I'll bring any Luton players in this week. Just something to think about. Senesi is a defender that seems to play all the time for Bournemouth, so he, if I want a defender, it might be a nice one. Tavernier is a nice cheap guy, and he has 3, you would think, quite good fixtures, so quite like that one. Bringing him in, could bring him in next week instead, just for the double. Semenyo I really like because he's a bit different. I would have liked to bring him in instead of Solanke, but when I look at the minutes he's playing, I mean, he played 90 minutes in the last game, in fairness. I think he plays pretty well, and I quite like him. Solanke's got the penalties. I think Solanke's the really obvious one from these players that everybody seems to have. It's so boring. I've kind of resisted having him all season, I think. Finally got him, and he probably will do nothing now that I've got him. So you're welcome for that if you've got him in your team. Yeah, I kind of would quite like Semenyo, and he's only 4.5 million. But yeah, probably not this week for Watkins, who has Luton. And yeah, so probably not this week. Maybe next week. Not sure. Some other more template kind of or obvious picks. If you look at this team, you probably think, oh, well, you could put this player in. I'll look at those next. So I think if you look at my team, you probably think, well, these are the players that maybe you're obviously missing here. And I think Son is about to become very template. A lot of people are looking to find a way to get Son in. I could do a De Bruyne out for him or Foden out for him or Richarlison out for him. I don't think there's really a need to do Richarlison out. But Son, yes, 9.6 million, about to become very popular, I think, very template. Um, yeah, he would probably improve the team. And if De Bruyne continues to be a minute's concern, then De Bruyne to one of these players is a pretty obvious move. I've got enough money to also do him to Salah. Salah at the moment still injured, didn't play any part at all in the Carabao Cup final. So, I mean, I thought he might be on the bench, but they obviously didn't want to even risk him for that. So maybe because the temptation would have been to bring him on towards the end, and they don't want to re-aggravate the injury. But he's 13 million. But I have got enough money to go straight to him from De Bruyne. Would have to be De Bruyne out, and I'm thinking De Bruyne out makes sense for a player this week anyway. But obviously, he might absolutely batter Man United if he plays. He hasn't played the last two games. So, does he start this next game? Maybe. Yeah, probably he does. And am I going to mess about with team leaks? I'm not going to talk loads about team leaks because I don't like them. And I really quite enjoyed last week a bit more because I just thought, stuff it, I'm not going to bother about them. I think probably people knew that De Bruyne wasn't starting. Maybe people did a -4 to take him out for another player, and I could have done that last week if I'd have been around. But I just, yeah, can't be bothered with that nonsense. So if I'm around at that time and I find out that he's not playing, and maybe I think the move is probably De Bruyne out for someone anyway. The other one is Saka, who's just been absolutely punishing me week after week for the last few weeks. There was a period where everybody was saying get him out because he's awful and he's not getting many points, and suddenly he gets a couple of penalties and he gets a couple of goals and he's brilliant. But Arsenal have battered the last few teams. He's scored a lot of goals. He's not the only one to have scored goals, but he has, in particular, has damaged my rank because everybody's got him except me, it seems like. So those are three pretty obvious moves. So next up is my top secret move. Top secret or pretty mental move, I'm not sure. But here we go. Let's have a look at it. So here's my top secret move. Well, this is the one I'm thinking of. I really like this move. And I don't know why, because this player has been a proven troll for FPL. For myself included, I think I've brought him in before when he played for Chelsea and thought this was genius, and he's been very disappointing. Over the last few weeks, he's scored a lot of points. He's scored goals. I think he's assisted. He's 7.1 million. And, I mean, the goal last week against, or is it still this week, against Newcastle? I mean, I would have scored that. It was an open goal. No, I wouldn't have scored that. I would have skied it over the bar. What am I talking about? But it was a pretty easy one. I think it had an XG of about 1 or something, maybe. So he has his numbers look good, comparable with Saka, really, and I think I like this because it's totally differential. I don't think many people will have Havertz, and he's playing at the moment. He's playing well, to be fair to him, and he could be. I don't want to go. I don't want to go totally template and boring. And if you guys have watched my videos before, you might know I do not like the template. But my team is so boring and template at the moment, especially bringing in Solanke, and it's my own fault. So that's what I've done. But I'm thinking that Havertz in this week might be an interesting shout. What do you guys think? Play Sheffield United. I think it's away. If I brought him in, I could captain him. this could be an absolute disaster, or it could be a masterclass. I think we all know which it's going to be, but I'm really really tempted by this. I think this could well be my move. Because I could go Saka, couldn't I? I could go Salah if we get an indication that Salah is going to be back and starting, which I don't think he will. I think he may come off the bench again, and he could well do damage off the bench. Next week he's got Manchester City. I'd still play him in that game, obviously. The other one is Son, who I think is going to be popular. I'm, yeah, no, I think I want to go for an Arsenal player, but I don't want to go totally boring. I think this has the upside there, but also I know there's a massive risk. I think it's probably going to go badly wrong if I'm honest, but I just like this because it's something different. I don't want to just be all the time doing the same boring moves, and even when I've done those moves, my rank isn't that great. Let's see what I can do towards the end of the season and see whether these maybe differential moves. Maybe I do something like this. So one of these moves, I'm probably going to make a transfer this week. I think I could roll, and maybe that makes sense for game week 28. But I think this might be the move. What do you think? Am I insane for even considering it? Probably. But I'll see you next time, guys.